Welcome to the Grueling Truth's Inside Boxing Weekly Show. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, and I want to welcome in my co-host and new writer for The Grueling Truth at thegruelingtruth.net, Jeremiah Preisser.
Welcome. I am happy to be here. Again, as always, shout out to all of our listeners.
Yeah, and I mean, we want to thank the people who've been listening in. We've been averaging, I think, well over 2,000 listens to the podcast, which makes me feel slightly more important. How about you, Jeremiah?
Yeah, most certainly. I mean, when I started this gig, it was pretty low, but the figures have been rising and been rising and been rising, so clearly we're doing something right.
Well, either that or people are just really freaking bored. But
well, if they're that bored to listen to me on a Tuesday night, kudos to them.
Well, think about it. It's a Tuesday night. It's 10:41. Actually, it'll be posted at like after 11. So, I mean, what else is there to do? So you might as well listen to us. Let's go ahead. We'll recap what happened last week, which is mainly one fight last night. Sergey Kovalev, who I thought was less than overwhelming against Vazquez-Chilemba, won a 12-round decision in his home country. What was your take on the fight?
I think most would agree with what you're saying. It was kind of underwhelming. I mean, Kovalev looked, I don't know if I want to say flat, but he certainly didn't look as sharp as he typically does. He was cocking the jab. He was making his actions pretty well known. Chilemba was able to counter the jab. He left his left hand low consistently. A lot of people have been giving him crap for the performance, but I'm not sure what to attribute it to because I've certainly seen him sharper. I mean, maybe he just doesn't do that well against crafty fighters, and if that's the case, he's going to have problems with a high IQ guy in Andre Ward. But Kovalev, no matter what the cause was for the less than stellar performance, he's still got to win over, the seventh-rated light heavyweight in the world.
Chilemba to me is just tough. As you said earlier when we talked, he's crafty. But he's a guy that if you're one of the top 5 pound-for-pound fighters, I think most people put him top 3, if you're having trouble with him, I mean, I know he said after the fight he wasn't feeling well and all this crap that everybody says when they don't perform well. But I'm really worried now about him fighting Andre Ward.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I want to look too much into that, read too much into the fight. Because, even the best of the best, they do have off nights. We've seen, absolute legends struggle with guys that were like, that's a guy you should stomp. So I'm personally pumping the brakes a little bit, but if it could be, of course, it could be a sign of things to come. If, because Andre Ward is certainly quicker, he's more cerebral, he hits a bit harder, and I can see, how you and others look at that fight and think to themselves, well, it might be a bad styles matchup, but we'll see.
We'll talk about the styles in a minute, but this is what it reminds me of, right? Leonard Hearns, huge fight, probably bigger than this one. But Leonard and Hearns fought on the same night before they fought for the title. If I remember right, Sugar Ray Leonard fought Ayub Kalule. You remember him? I think he was from Uganda.
Yeah.
Tough fighter. Leonard actually had a lot of trouble with him. And I know that afterwards, I mean, from talking to people around Leonard, that he had a hard time getting up because he was looking forward to fighting Thomas Hearns. Hearns blew out Pablo Baez, but Pablo Baez was a guy everybody knocked out. So really, I don't think you read too much into it because it's probably hard to get up for him. Kind of like the NFL, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and you're playing the Cleveland Browns and the next week you're playing the Cincinnati Bengals, it's really hard to concentrate on a team you know you're going to handle when you have your big rival coming up next. So I will give you that. But my problem with it was this. When I watched the fight, what I saw was Kovalev has great power. His power is mainly right-handed. And it seemed to me after about the 4th round, he threw the right hand a lot less than I'd ever seen. And my worry is because Chilemba moved side to side more than most guys he fought. And he did not pull the trigger with the right hand as much as what I've seen him do in the past. Yeah,
I think his defense shut down off Kovalev's offense a little bit. And another thing I've noticed about Kovalev is he's not much of an inside fighter. He likes to maintain his distance. He likes to throw straight shots. And Ward can be an excellent infighter when he wants to be. Ward can do just about anything. I mean, he's not a one-punch knockout kind of guy, but he's a cerebral guy, and I've seen him utilize different strategies against different styles. And, Ward may be able to get inside, rough him up. He may be able to move around a bit like Chilemba did and expose some of the things that Chilemba may have. But, again, I don't want to read too much into it. I think if we get a sharper Kovalev against Chilemba, we may have gotten a stoppage. I mean, he did land a really nice right hand in the 7th round and put him on his ass. And he did have him hurt on a few other occasions after that. I just don't know if he couldn't pull the trigger, again, if maybe he was confused, but I figure if he presses the action a little bit more, gets a little bit sharper, he may have been able, to end it, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and my thing with Ward is Andre Ward the Andre Ward from 4 or 5 years ago, or has he slipped a little bit?
Yeah, and I think if it is an older Ward, and, we've seen in those last few fights, this is just one thing that I've noticed, is that he doesn't use his feet as much. He does have a tendency to just kind of sit back a little bit. He does utilize lateral movement, but not quickly. He's not a guy like Floyd Mayweather who could be on his toes consistently. He looks like he's settled down a bit more. He likes to outbox guys from a distance. And if he does that, granted, again, he may be able to utilize some sort of infighting that could trouble Kovalev. But if, he chooses to box with Kovalev, I still think that's a really interesting styles matchup. And maybe it could potentially be kind of a spoiler, you know what I mean, where their styles just don't seem to mesh, because both heavily rely on the jab. And I could imagine, both, feinting, moving, not doing much of anything, trying to, establish the jab. And we may get a boring fight for the first few rounds, but I'm hoping that's not the case.
Yeah, me neither. And, Ward's a smart fighter, and if you see that Kovalev doesn't like to fight on the inside, it wouldn't surprise me if he stands in the pocket and tries to fight that way.
No, look what he did against Mikkel Kessler. Kessler is, I would say stylistically, he's fairly similar to Kovalev. He was a guy who relied heavily on the jab as well. He had quick hands. He wasn't as sharp as Kovalev in terms of technique and power, but he fought in a similar manner. And that's exactly what Ward did to disrupt his rhythm. He would jab, work his way in, and he basically took out Kessler's jab, which was an excellent jab, and then he would work his way inside and then rough him up in there, establish distance, jab, rough him up on the inside, and whether that's as effective against Kovalev as it is, Kovalev, who's a bigger guy, I guess is yet to be seen.
Yeah, and I think, after all, a win's a win. It gets him to the fight. And, how many times have we seen in other sports or boxing where somebody doesn't look great in a fight, then the next fight they look great? So I think maybe we're reading a little bit into it, but I'm just worried. And I've seen Andre Ward, and my opinion on Andre Ward is, I think over the last 10 or 15 years, including Floyd Mayweather, I think Andre Ward's the best boxer I've seen. And if you look at the guys he's beat, Kessler, Froch, he's beaten some really high-quality guys, and he very rarely loses a round doing it.
No, and again, he does it in different manners. He can be aggressive. He can just box from the outside, whatever it may be. He surprised us all with that Super 6 win, and he beat different styles to get there. Abraham's just a high guard guy who likes to jab a lot and toss right hands. Kessler's a little more versatile, beat him on the inside. Ward's excellent. He just needs to we're just all happy that he's finally taken a fight of note, and utilizing his talent.
Yeah, and I think this will tell us a lot about both, but especially Kovalev. We'll go ahead and transition. We'll go to the fights coming up this weekend. 3 solid fights. Well, 2 solid fights in Guillermo Rigondeaux's fight. But we'll start off with that. Guillermo Rigondeaux is fighting James Dickens, who's 22-1 with 7 KOs. What do you know about James Dickens?
Honestly, I don't know a damn thing about James Dickens. First time I had ever heard of him was when Rigondeaux named him as an opponent earlier. I really have no idea how good this guy is, but I think it's a very safe bet to imagine that he's not anywhere on Rigondeaux's level. I'm not even sure why this fight is taking place, to be honest with you. Is this the best opponent Rigondeaux can get? I know a lot of guys, or have strayed away from Rigondeaux. I understand that he's an excellent fighter, but Dickens, I'm just not. I see it as a complete mismatch.
Well, I think Rigondeaux entered in the Donaire fight. I mean, really, I think his professional career has been a letdown after his amateur career.
Yeah, I mean, he's widely viewed as one of the better amateurs to ever do it. I think he won 2 gold medals. Comes out of the Cuban school, but like a lot of Cuban fighters, actually, he's kind of let us all down with his potential. I mean, look at guys like Gamboa. There have been plenty of other Cubans who have come into the professional ranks and just haven't turned out like we thought they would.
My favorite was Jorge Luis Gonzalez. You remember him, the old heavyweight that had the little ponytail and he was bald other than that?
Right, yeah. There was another Cuban heavyweight. Well, I mean, Luis Ortiz kind of looks the part, but there was another Cuban heavyweight who came into the pro ranks who looked pretty good initially. Then he ended up getting whooped by Vladimir Klitschko, like most guys. But, yeah, I don't know what Rigondeaux is doing here. I think he's, 36, 37, 38, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, a guy of his style, who's reflexive and quick and fast. Those type of styles don't generally last into the later years.
Your reflexes will go away. Your power doesn't.
Yeah, I think Rigondeaux is a good puncher, but we've seen, on numerous occasions that he can't take a clean punch very well. I mean, he was dropped by the Japanese guy twice. He was, hurt by a Moroccan twice. He was dropped by a jab against Cordova. He was dropped by Donaire. He's got to get on the ball. I mean, again, I know that a lot of guys are avoiding him. I mean, Frampton was supposed to defend against him and chose to just vacate the title and move up and fight Santa Cruz, which I think is a good fight. Santa Cruz didn't want anything to do with Rigondeaux when he was at 122. I think Rigondeaux's best bet. I don't understand why he feels the need to stay at 122. I mean, I hear he's not that big at 122. So if that's the case, just drop down to 118. There's more talent there. Or if
I think James Dickens, I think the thing that really gets them is they can go fight it overseas. They get a big crowd. They probably get a decent payday. And James Dickens has got 7 knockouts, I think, and he's 21 or 22 wins. So I don't think there's any huge danger there for Rigondeaux.
Right, but my problem is where does he go from there? I mean, it's all, if you're just trying to stay sharp, until somebody accepts a fight, okay, I guess Jazza will suffice. But I'm more concerned with
he's had like 6 of those fights in a row, hasn't he?
He has, and since the Donaire fight, I don't think he's fought a top 10 guy. And he fought an old Ogbeko, which was an absolute bore. He fought Amagasa, the Japanese guy. He's fighting Dickens. I understand that guys avoid him, but he should be able to go to the WBA, because I believe the WBA gave his belt back, and he should say, hey, who's my mandatory? And they'll say, okay, well, this guy. And if that guy declines, well, who's the next in line? Get that guy. Who's the next in line? I feel like there's something more that can be done. And I thought...
Yeah, because I don't think James Dickens is the only guy that would fight him.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, I heard Scott Quigg would. I'm not necessarily convinced, but I thought Vasil Lomachenko offered him a fight last year. But I don't know.
Well, this is my prediction. I'm not saying Rigondeaux loses to Dickens, but if he keeps taking these fights, at some point he's going to lose one of them, because it's got to be hard to get up for the fights for him, and he's getting older. And like you said, he's a reflex fighter, which, you're getting close to 40 years old. At some point, they're going to disappear.
We saw what happened to Roy Jones. Rigondeaux is going to end up losing one of those fights, like you said, and then he's going to be irrelevant. He's going to give the top guys an excuse not to fight him.
Well, if he loses, there's no reason to fight him anyways.
Right. Yep.
Because especially if he's losing to a guy, not necessarily Dickens, but a guy of his ilk, there's no reason to fight him anyways. That'll bring us to what I think is not our headliner here, because you got a partial heavyweight title fight. But you got Sammy Vazquez was supposed to fight Luis Collazo. Felix Diaz is replacing him. What's your thoughts on Vazquez and Diaz?
I think Diaz is a fine replacement for Collazo. I think it's better than Collazo. I mean, Diaz, he looked good against Peterson. Some people thought he beat Peterson. I believe that was Peterson's first move to 147. Not that I make too much of that, but no, I think
he lost a majority decision to Peterson.
Yeah, no, I think this is nice little fight. I like Vazquez personally. I mean, partly because he's from the Pittsburgh area, and Pittsburgh has a long, boxing tradition, and not only that, he trains in Colorado. Vazquez, I think he's down in Colorado Springs, so there's a little something, and he is a military guy. But I think it's a good fight. I think we're going to learn a little bit more about Vazquez here. Diaz as well. I think, though, that Vazquez looks pretty damn good. I like his style. He's got a little toughness to him. He's got a little edge too. He likes to kind of stick and move, not in the sense that others do, but he likes to move a bit, utilize lateral movement, jab, land power shots, but when he gets hit, he doesn't mind mixing it up a little bit. And I think that this will be a nice step up for Vazquez. I think he takes a decision.
Yeah, I think Vazquez wins the decision. It wouldn't surprise me if Diaz gives him trouble. I think Diaz is the best fighter he's fought so far.
Yep, no, I agree. It's the best fighter that he's fought so far. Some of us were hoping that he would take an even bigger step, because I think he's rated pretty high by the IBF, and a lot of people are hoping that maybe the PBC would put him in with one of their other prospects. But I'm happy with this. I think it.
Yeah, I think he's better off going this direction. I mean, there's no reason to jump in deep water too soon.
Yeah, but it's a nice fight. Probably the best fight of the night, at least on the card.
Yeah, and then that brings us to, I'm not going to call it a heavyweight title fight, because to me Tyson Fury is, even though he is kind of a dipshit. But Deontay Wilder defending his belt against Chris Arreola. And my question to you is this. Chris Arreola, okay? I mean, should you really be fighting for a heavyweight title when your name is a part of a woman's breast?
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to discriminate against a fellow's name, no matter what it implies. But
at least he's not Chris Nipple.
Chris Nipple. Well, I mean, he's certainly got big ones, doesn't he?
That should be his nickname, though. It could be Chris Nipple Arreola.
Chris Nipples. Let's add an S. Let's make it plural.
There you go.
Yeah,
but do you think Arreola has a chance here? I think he has a chance just because he can punch a little bit, but if you look at what he's done recently, I mean, a draw with Fred Cassie, I don't know who the hell that is. He got beat up by Berman Stabern twice. I mean, the real question is, why is he even getting a title shot?
Well, the real answer is, I don't know. I mean, Arreola, he's gotten plenty of shots, and I think a lot of us are sick of seeing it. I mean, couldn't they have picked somebody else? I understand, what Wilder is going through at the moment. He's got to deal with the whole Povetkin thing. So the WBC said, hey, go ahead, take a quick fight. It's all good. But Arreola, just like a lot of us, we're sick of it. But hey, so Ariel's credit, he recognizes that he shouldn't be getting this fight. He's even said that. He's been honest with himself. And, of course, he has a chance. Almost everybody has a chance in the heavyweight division. I mean,
yeah, if you're over 200 pounds, you hit somebody clean, you got a chance.
Right. And Arreola can pop a little bit. There's no doubt about that. But I just don't see him doing anything against that jab and right hand. He's just not a mobile guy. He doesn't. He's kind of a tough guy, but not tough enough to take, Wilder shots all night. He's not.
Yeah, I think Wilder knocked him out in like the 5th or 6th round.
The sooner the better, in my opinion. I'm hoping that he can get this done and over with. I don't have to hear Arreola whine about his chance, and then hopefully the Povetkin fight gets made. That's all I'm really in it for. I mean, Arreola, Wilder, whatever. Hey, good for Wilder. At least he's staying busy. And another thing is, kudos to him because he's taken VADA testing, so we know that he's clean.
Yeah, but how many Chris Arreolas, Eric Molinas, and he's had 3 or 4 title defenses, and I don't think any of the guys are what you would consider a real threat even. No,
Stabern was considered a top 10 guy. I think his ranking was a bit high because
but Stabern's only big win. Who did Stabern beat outside of Arreola?
Nobody. I'm not sure why the ring rated him so high. I mean, if you look at Stabern's record, I think he was stopped by some journeyman. And then he struggled against the journeyman in his last outing with Rossi. But I don't understand why his ranking was so high. But he's a tough guy. But whatever. I just want it done and over with. Wilder 36-0 with 35 knockouts, and it's one of the most misleading records in all of boxing.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It's like the Alex Stewart with the 24-0, 24 knockouts till he gets knocked out by Evander Holyfield, the first real guy he fights. Yeah, I would love to be seeing Wilder fight Alexander Povetkin. If he beats Povetkin, to me, he's legit. He's a threat. I mean, like I said, he's not the heavyweight champion. That's Tyson Fury because he beat Klitschko. But we'll go ahead and transition to a little bit of news. Gennady Golovkin. I know that we talked a little bit about him fighting Chris Eubank. It looks to me like Chris Eubank's dad thought better of that. But he's going to be fighting Kell Brook. What's your take?
Well, I was listening to Tom Loeffler today in a 35-minute interview, and he broke it down. He helped the layman understand how this came to be. Apparently, the Eubank negotiations were going really well up until the end. Loeffler was convinced that fight was going to be made. They were going to do it in the O2 Arena, and it was going to be a big draw. Everything was worked out. But then apparently, he didn't get into these details. This was Eddie Hearn. Hearn said Chris Eubank's dad wanted to control things like ticket sales and some of the staff and stuff of that nature. And Hearn immediately says, no, that's not the way he's been doing business. He's been in the game 30 years. We're not going to concede that much power to a trainer. And so what happened was Hearn was like, you know what, let's not make the deal off. I'll present this to Brook, see what he has to say. Brook looked at it, signed within less than 2 days, took the exact same offer that Eubank was going to get. Basically, what Loeffler said was the only thing that changed was the name on the contract.
Yeah, and I think this. Kell Brook is, right now you'd have to say, he's a tougher fighter than Chris Eubank, even for Golovkin, even though he's a 147 champion. I mean, Brook's beaten better competition, beat Sean Porter, so I think this is actually a better fight.
Yeah, a lot of people are giving Golovkin shit over this. They're saying, it's essentially Canelo Khan 2. And where I disagree is though Brook he's a welterweight like Khan was, but Khan started out at 135. He was a lightweight. He got stopped by Preisser.
Yeah, Brook's a big welterweight, and Brook is a lot more talented than Khan.
Yeah, I mean, Brook is considered by the ring the number one welterweight in the world. And I know he's a big welterweight because not only does he admit it, I mean, he said just the other day, hey, I'm huge. But he's had, this is well known in British boxing circles, that Brook has had problems making weight for years. I mean, he's been as high as 155, and that was 7-8 years ago. I mean, this guy's been draining himself time and time again to get down to 147. And seeing as Golovkin is 5'10", Brook is 5'9", I don't make too much of the 154-pound class. And that's kind of one thing that gets me too. Is if this was 1960 and a welterweight moved up to fight a middleweight, nobody would bat an eye, because that was commonplace. We didn't have this 154 middle ground. So I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by the size. I think Brook is going to look very close to as big as Golovkin. And on top of that, I've heard that they're going by the IBF rules, and I wasn't aware of this until now. But Loeffler said that according to the IBF rules, you can only gain 10 pounds after weigh-in. So that means we may see two fighters who are both 170 pounds with a 1-inch height difference, though Golovkin will be the naturally bigger guy. But on top of that, this is one thing that I've posed to some of the people that I've debated with about this. If Brook would have moved up to middleweight and fought Billy Joe Saunders, Chris Eubank, or Andy Lee,
nobody would have thought anything of it.
Nope. In fact, I bet he would have been a favorite against all of them. I know Saunders he's considered a top 5 middleweight by the ring, but I bet if Brook would have moved up to 160 and faced Saunders, seeing as Eubank fought closely with Saunders, I think most people would favor Brook in that fight. I think they'd favor Brook against Lee I think they'd favor him against Eubank. I think they'd favor him against all of them.
I think you'd favor Brook against everybody at the middleweight division except Golovkin.
Yeah, I mean, I think him and Danny Jacobs would be an interesting fight. But aside from that, I think Brook is a legitimate player with or without fighting in that division. He's a big guy. He's well-rounded. That's what I like about this fight is that Brook is well-rounded.
So my question to you is this, though. Is this a stupid move by Golovkin? Because if he looks great and kicks Brook's ass, they're going to say he was a welterweight. But if Brook beats him, or Brook gives him a fight, then everybody's going to say Golovkin's not as good as people said.
Yeah, well, the problem with opinions is most people have a tendency to write their own narrative into whatever they're viewing. If Brook does surprisingly good, they're going to say, oh, well, Golovkin's not as good as we thought he was. Or if Golovkin
that's what I'm saying. So doesn't that make this a bad decision to fight Brook?
I don't think so. I mean, I think Golovkin still wins. I think he wins against the best welterweight in the world, and I don't really hold it much against him. I mean, people seem to forget how middleweights of the past did this frequently. I mean,
Jose Napoli's and Carlos Monzon.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, look at a more recent example. This is one thing that I've noticed that's odd here, but rolling my eyes. But they don't give Bernard Hopkins the same kind of criticism that they give Golovkin. Hopkins' best wins, some of his best wins are against welterweights. I mean, when Oscar De La Hoya, passed his best, moved up, fought Felix Sturm, and what most thought was a robbery in favor of Sturm. Felix Trinidad. This happens time and time again. Hagler did it. I mean, Hagler fought Duran, who started off as a lightweight. He fought Hearns. He fought. I mean, and I'm not trying to say, Brook is on the level of Napoli's or any of those guys, but he is considered the best welterweight in the world. He is a big guy, and this isn't uncommon. That's what I don't understand, but I don't think it's a bad move. I think Golovkin goes, wins, and builds his brand, and I think that's what they're intending to do.
All right, so that brings us to Manny Pacquiao. Bob Arum announced recently that he was going to be making a comeback. From what I hear, he's going to be fighting Danny Garcia or the winner of Terrence Crawford, Victor Postol. What's your take? And I can tell you this, the Adrian Broner thing we talked about last week, I live close to Cincinnati. I know some people that know Broner. And from what I was told, Broner asked for some exorbitant amount of money that he knew he wasn't going to get. So I don't think Broner wanted any part of Pacquiao, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I was on Twitter for a little while, and I noticed Broner was blowing it up, saying, hey, fuck you, Bob Arum, pay me. I'm like, what have you earned, man? I mean, your best win at 147 is Paulie Malignaggi, and it was a split decision. I mean, what have you earned? But I'm glad that fight didn't come off. I mean, it would have been nice seeing Broner take another ass whooping. But the winner of Postol-Crawford is much more appealing, in my opinion, because whoever wins that fight is the lineal champion at 140 pounds. And Postol's looked really good. I still have question marks about Postol. Even though I followed him for a long time, I used to watch his fights in the Ukraine. But Crawford looks like the real deal. I mean, he's a highly skilled individual, and I favor him to win, but I think either one of those guys is quite all right with me.
Now, I'll tell you this. I think real quick, I think that he's fighting Danny Garcia. I don't think he's messing with a prime Terrence Crawford.
Yeah, I think that's probably too big of a risk right now. But Danny Garcia, I think, is an easier choice. It makes good money. He wins a title. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. I wouldn't be surprised, given Top Rank's history, if he fought Jesse Vargas, which isn't a fight that I really want to see, but Vargas holds the WBO title. And Top Rank has had a hold on the WBO for a few years now. So one surprise me to see the Vargas fight. We're definitely not getting a Bradley fight. But do you think there's any possibility that we get a Marquez fight, the fifth one?
I mean, Marquez did knock him out the last time they fought.
It's true. I mean, Marquez has actually been trying to negotiate with Cotto, which I think a lot of people find, to be an interesting fight. But I've heard that they can't really make out the weight issues, and I don't know. I'm not sure that comes off, but again, that makes
maybe
money.
We need to have Kermit Cintron on next week because he challenged Marquez or Cotto if they didn't fight each other, and neither one of them got back to him.
Yeah, I've noticed. Yeah, we forgot to credit Cinchon with his race to win, but he's staying busy, and I wouldn't mind seeing that either. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, at least we know he's going to come to fight, and he's in shape. So, all right, so this is one of my favorite fighters of all time, won his first world title 30 years ago today. Evander Holyfield beat Vazquez-Diaz, their first fight. I think it was in Atlanta, Georgia. I think it was on ABC in the afternoon. I remember watching the fight in 1986. I was getting ready to go into my senior year of high school. What are your thoughts on Evander Holyfield, Vazquez-Diaz?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, what do you think, maybe the best cruiserweight fight of all time? I'd say it's certainly...
Oh, I think there's no doubt it's the greatest cruiserweight. I mean, to me, there's three. And I think people really forget how good a fighter Vazquez-Diaz was.
Yeah, well, I think people have always had a tendency to overlook the cruiserweights because it's kind of in that in-between period. It's in boxing purgatory between two glamorous divisions of light heavyweight and heavyweight. I think it's a bit unfortunate because there have been a lot of wonderful fighters there, like Qawi. But, yeah, what an excellent fight. And how could you not know that Holyfield would become a great after that? I mean, he beat...
Yeah, I mean, his 12th professional fight to be... And that was one of the last 15-round title fights.
Yeah. I mean, and so to go 15 rounds in your 12th fight, which also set a record, I mean, that's still the fastest for any cruiserweight to win a title. So, I mean, you know, not only was it a great fight, but there are historical markers there. But, yeah, after watching that fight, you know, seeing two big guys go 15 rounds, I miss that. I miss watching big guys like that who are actually in shape. That's kind of why I still pay attention to the cruiserweights, because they're a bit like the old heavyweights. But, yeah, how could you not watch Holyfield perform that night and think, you know, this guy's going to become a great? I mean, what an excellent fight back and forth. You know, Holyfield, I haven't seen it in a while, but from what I remember, Holyfield started off nicely and then started to teeter out a little bit near the end. You know,
yeah, it looked like he was going to be done, that, you know, he was an amateur that probably bit off more than he could chew early. And then just like Holyfield always did, he dug down, he made a final stand, and he won the fight. And I think that fight was like 143, 142 on all three cards. And I think it was a split decision. I'm not 100% sure, but if I remember right, I think it was like 143, 130, or 142, and it was like 2-1 judge-wise.
Yeah, it was actually, it was a split decision. Harold Letterman actually had it. I think he had it for Holyfield, and one of the other judges had it for Holyfield. But I believe the Ring also named it the best cruiserweight fight of the '80s, and I think they rated it something like the 46th greatest title fight ever.
And I'll tell you, I think you'd have a hard time finding 45 better. Yeah,
no, I agree. I think that might be a little low. Though, of course, you know, there have been thousands upon thousands of fight in boxing, so I'm not going to argue too much there. But, yeah, I remember, what did Holyfield throw, too? I think he threw something like 1,300 punches in that fight.
Oh, they bruised through something that was just unreal. And, I mean, people forget. I mean, he wasn't as good as Michael Spinks. Michael Spinks whooped his ass in that super fight. But, I mean, before that, the light heavyweight division in the late 70s up through about 1985 was probably about as good and deep as it ever was. You know, you had guys like Victor Galindez in the late 70s. You had Marvin Johnson, who still won the title again, I think, in 86 or 87, and lost it to Leslie Stewart in a rematch. But, I mean, you had a deep field of fighters. And Qawi, I think he beat the Eddie Davises, the Johnny Davises. I mean, he was a really good fighter. People forget that. And to be able to come, and that was only 2 years after the Olympics, where Holyfield hits the guy late, the guy from, I think it was New Zealand, hits him late, ends up only getting a bronze medal. But 2 years later, he's fighting Vazquez-Diaz, who was a legitimate great fighter, and beats him in his 12th fight.
Yep, no, certainly excellent. I think the modern day cruiserweight division's starting to turn up a little bit. I'm not saying that it's anywhere near as good as the other one, but I mean, how can you not miss those days? I wish they would go back to 15 rounders, but you know, they said it was for safety reasons and whatnot.
You know what? It's just like when you're little, your parents always ruin shit with safety concerns.
Yeah, just let the boys have fun.
Yeah, it kills all the fun. I feel like nowadays everybody, I always make my kids wear helmets when they rode their bikes when they were little. I don't ever remember even anybody considering wearing a helmet when they rode a bike in 1979.
Yeah, I know. We got to put door stops, everywhere now. We've got to mark everything. We've got to mark all the products dangerous. We have to. I mean, have you ever been to California?
No.
Okay, well, in California,
too far to drive, and I'm not going to fly because it costs too much money. I've driven to Florida though. Is it anything like that?
Well, it's not quite the same. I mean, there's some similarities. California's a bit of a drier heat, but more to my point.
You're in Colorado. It's easier for you to get to California. It's easier for me to get to Florida.
That's true, but I have also been to Florida. I've also been to Florida a number of times. I mean, I have been to California, just see fights.
Well, you're a man of the world, Jeremiah.
I am. Well, not the world, but the United States. I've been to all states, but all the states, but about 6. And one is Alaska, one's Hawaii. A few of the other ones people don't typically care about, but I'll eventually.
So have you been to Indiana?
I have been to Indiana. I've been to Indiana a few times. I got a buddy who lives out there.
Huh. Well, thanks a lot, Jeremiah.
I have been to Indiana. Last time I went there, we ended up going to Chicago at about 2 a.m., driving through some of the best neighborhoods Chicago had to offer.
Well, it's safe there because they've got gun control. So nobody has a gun, so there's no crime in Chicago.
Right. So what we did was we actually parked in the middle of this wonderful neighborhood, and we got out and just started walking around and greeting people and handing out flyers and stuff for our softball team. And
I think you might be full of shit right now, Jeremiah.
Yep, I am pulling your leg, but
okay.
It's certainly no secret that Chicago's dangerous as hell right now.
I don't know how it can be dangerous though, because there's no guns allowed.
I know. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Do people just use knives to kill each other, or what?
Yeah, throwing knives. I think they throw knives at one another.
They butter knife each other to death.
Or maybe they've gone back to like bows and arrows and stuff. I'm not sure. Again, I'm trying to.
I always wondered how it could be dangerous if there's no guns. Because if you outlaw guns, I think just like drugs. I mean, once they outlawed drugs, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, I mean, there's been no more drugs since then, so I figured guns would be the same way. Right,
and isn't it funny that the people who use the logic, if you make drugs illegal, people will find a way to use them. They can't make that. They can't apply that to the whole gun thing. I don't know. Again, I'm still trying to piece this all together.
Yeah, I saw there was a woman on MSNBC, because of course they're batshit crazy, just like Fox News. I'm a libertarian, so I think everybody will do whatever the hell they want as long as they don't bother anybody else. But she was on there the other day and said if they'd had gun control, the guy that killed the 5 police officers wouldn't have been able to get a gun that way.
Well, I mean, geez, how do I take apart that silly argument? I mean, if they had gun control, I mean, how far back in time do you have to go to where, he doesn't have access to a weapon? I mean, I don't know, it just seems so silly that you would, it seems silly you would say something like that. I mean, if you had gun control, I mean, doesn't New York have pretty solid gun control?
Yeah, New York, Chicago, D.C. all had the strictest gun laws, and all 3 are some of the highest murder per capita with guns in the country. And I don't understand why people cannot figure that out.
No, and again, it's like the same thing, when they talk about the drugs, because people on the left like to talk about that stuff, like, let's legalize marijuana. That's all good and well. They say the same thing though. If you're going, if you make drugs illegal, people are going to find a way to use it. But if it's the same thing with guns. I mean, we've seen that.
Yeah, when you make stuff illegal, the only thing you do is keep people that are law-abiding citizens from getting it.
Right. Well, yeah, and you create a black market. I mean, look at look at
prohibition.
Look at what we've seen in Europe more recently, right? I mean, Europeans have tough gun laws. I mean, in the UK, the cops don't even use guns; they use batons. I mean, look at in Germany. In Germany, the only people who really have guns are collectors. But we've seen, or look at France. France has tough gun control, but that didn't stop a guy from walking into a club, a venue with music playing and shooting up a place.
Yeah, because criminals don't give a shit what your laws are.
Right. I mean, that's what makes them.
All right, we'll get off that. It's not boxing, so it might be boring people. But
yeah.
And my beer is cold down in the freezer, so we're going to have to wrap this show up for this week.
Got to get to it. You
I
can hear
know.
the
So,
start.
like, Budweiser Select, if you're listening, you need to be a sponsor for the show. Because I am going to partake in a few here in a little bit. Because, I was coaching my son's high school team. It was hot as hell out. And the great thing about that, when it's hot as hell, is that you drink all the beer you want and it comes right back out. You don't have to worry about gaining any weight.
Free advertisement, Bud.
Yeah, so right there, Bud, if you heard that, we could use a sponsor for the boxing show. Guys, make sure you check us out on thegruelingtruth.net. Check out all of our podcasts, all of our shows. We got Alan Buck and Chris Cook with Game Day IQ. That will be up on Wednesday. Also, during the day, Wednesday, we'll have interviews with former Cincinnati Bengal defensive lineman Jim Scow, player started in Super Bowl 23. Wednesday night, we'll have the USFL Legends Show, which could be a USFL and NFL Legends Show, as we'll have Anthony Carter, former Minnesota Viking, also Michigan Panther, Oakland Invader, Michigan Wolverine, one of the great wide receivers that I've ever seen play the game. Also tomorrow night, we will have the Gridarmo Super Bowl Trivia Show, which, Jeremiah, you're more than welcome to participate in if you want.
Yeah, I may have a hand in that. When did you say it was?
10 o'clock tomorrow night.
10 o'clock tomorrow night. Okay. I don't think I could probably compete with your great minds. But
it doesn't matter. Everybody else loses to us anyways. But it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And we had Joe Pritchard from our Rouge, White, and Blue CFL show last week that actually did good. He got 7. But me and Matt didn't miss anything, so we won. But if you want to try it, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, I may give it a whack. I have to stay in contact with you and see if I'm up for it.
All right. And then also check out Saturday morning, Out of Left Field, as always, will be up. That's Graham McCown and Chris Fury with our weekly baseball show. Also, CFL Legends Show coming up sometime in the next week. We just got to finalize the interview. We'll have John Gregory, who was a 2-time CFL Coach of the Year, 2-time Grey Cup winning coach. He will be on the show, was with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Make sure you check that out. You can find all of our shows on iHeart, Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn. I know I'm missing like 5 others, but if they've got a podcast, you'll be able to find The Grueling Truth. You can follow us on Twitter at Grueling Truth. Jeremiah, you got any final words?
No, sir. Nothing too interesting. Well, I guess one quick note I want to make is that we talked about the big fights coming up this weekend. There are a lot of nice little fights going on, so tune in, people. A lot of nice prospects getting it on. Check them out.
Yeah, plus I think Arthur Abraham's finishing up his career here pretty soon, too.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I mean, he rebounded really quickly after his recent loss. I think he was disappointed. He's like, I need to get back in and redeem myself. I don't really, he's kind of been like that. He did the same thing against Stieglitz. I don't really see.
I always liked Arthur Abraham, though.
Yeah, well, I became, I don't want to say a fan, but I liked him certainly after the Edison Miranda affair when he was jaw broken in the 4th and fought on.
He goes back and knocks him out like the 11th round or something.
Yeah, that was. He gets a golf clap from me.
Yeah, I mean, he's a tough some gun. I always liked him, Kessler, all those guys, but I like all the foreigners. Heck, at least when you watch the fights, there's like 30,000 people going nuts. But,
oh yeah, well, not only that, I mean, and that's one thing that I like about modern boxing. It's become diversified. I mean, we've had this mass influx of guys from former Soviet nations, and they're fighting this weekend. Sergei Lipinets, a guy who I highly recommend watching, Alexander Gvodzik, who's another really good fighter. Lots of nice fighters on this weekend.
All right, well, guys, make sure you check it out. Me and Jeremiah will be back next week to review the shows and look forward to the shows coming up the next week. So make sure you check us out on Inside Boxing Weekly every week on thegruelingtruth.net. So for Jeremiah Preisser, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.